This is probably the highlight of Albion gameplay. Come on then. Oh, he dragged me. Uh-oh. Come on then. Oops.
I'm not helping you.
Help me, dude, please. What? You're my guild. I got killed in like
Pass.
5 seconds. Hello and welcome. My name is Eric and my channel's content mainly consists of the popular MMORPG Runescape. I have tried a handful of MMOs over the years, but I never really gave some of them a proper chance, including Albion Online. Albion Online is a sandbox MMORPG developed by Sandbox Interactive, featuring crafting, trading, farming, PvP and PvE elements, and is a game that raised $10 million through crowdfunding. Albion was released in 2017, then it came to Steam in 2018, and then a year after that it became free to play in 2019. Many people mention that this game is similar to RuneScape. So how does it compare to RuneScape? What makes Albion Online special? And is Albion Online worth playing in 2020? When you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So before you play any game, you have to install it. Now with Albion Online, it takes almost no time to install through Steam because the game is only 4 GB large, or small. Almost immediately after starting the game up for the first time on Steam, I noticed that the character creation screen was very similar to RuneScape's. Very basic options for your hair, skin color, and clothing. Just like with RuneScape, when you first start on a new character, you start on Tutorial Island. Now I'm calling it Tutorial Island because it is simply an island, just like with RuneScape. The tutorial is really straightforward and actually teaches you quite a lot about the game. It teaches you about the player-driven economy, the marketplace, how to craft things, how leveling up goes, and that's a good thing. It teaches you most you need to know to get started and do whatever you want in Albion Online. That's something I like to see, unlike some other games which only teach you a couple things and then just drop you into the abyss. Also a small detail, but something I personally liked, is you get a mount straight at the tutorial. Yes, you get a mount when you make a new account. That's really cool and something I definitely appreciated for moving around. After the tutorial, I was finally able to add my RuneScape friends who also decided to start playing the game. And I immediately noticed that the town is really packed. There are so many people in this beginner's town, it's insane. And in my opinion, this is a very good sign or a green flag to a new MMORPG I start playing. This means that there will be plenty of players to play with even if you don't have any friends, and there will be plenty of guilds or players willing to help. Something that I really found interesting is the Destiny board, aka skill tree in Albion Online. It works differently than other games, at least I find that it branches out into a different way. And just like in the ads, it is true you can do whatever you want in Albion Online. You can focus on, let's say, woodcutting and simply level woodcutting up a lot higher than mining or other combat skills or trees. But what I found especially great was when I wanted to switch from using a bow because it felt a little underpowered to a different style of weapon, I didn't have to start an entirely new skill tree. Within my hunter skill tree, I could simply use a torch, a staff, a dagger and torch, a spear, not just a bow, which is actually... It just gives you more options, which is a good thing, especially if you like switching styles of weapons. This gives you the option to try everything out and mix and match with what you like. You can even use different types of armor and level different types of skills there, which is really cool. There's a lot of options here, although those options don't necessarily change gameplay as much as you'd think early on. But in terms of switching classes and doing whatever you want, this is awesome and it gives you a lot of freedom. Definitely a +1 for Albion there. Now what do you do with weapons and abilities in an MMORPG? Well, of course, combat. Player versus environment or player versus monster. And Albion's experience in that area is actually fairly enjoyable, especially with a group of friends. Now we found this green rift kind of dungeon thing and we went in and you had a bunch of enemies and at the end you have a big boss with a chest you can loot after finishing off the boss. And at that point, the game started to become fairly interesting and entertaining because I wanted to play the game for those PvE dungeons and that group content. Now there are some things I dislike with these dungeons you do in a party, the first of which is the loot is shared in a very weird way. I'm not sure if this is standard for MMOs, but sometimes players get a bunch of things and someone gets nothing. It would have been nice if stuff was evenly shared throughout your party, maybe depending on your weapon style as well. but I guess that is what it is. What's even worse is that if a other player joins in the rift, they are able to steal your loot at the end. And we had this once where this one random player was in the dungeon, and I was in there with 3 other people in my party, and he got all the loot at the end. Now I'm not sure if that's because he hit the boss first, or he entered the dungeon first, but I'm pretty sure he entered after us. I just think it's completely bizarre that one player can come in and basically snipe all of your loot in some way or form. What would have been a better system is again the loot being split evenly through all the players inside the dungeon. Or even better, just like RuneScape 3, have individual loot per dungeon, just like RuneScape 3 has with raids and elite dungeons. Just something I personally dislike about Albion. Despite that, the bosses in these dungeons are exciting to kill because they have different mechanics, and what I really like is you can see an area on the screen with an orange circle or a different orange shape where the attack will land, and that gives you some time to avoid the mechanic if you're paying attention. Despite the low polygon graphics, the effects and animations in this game are appropriate and pleasant on the eyes. In fact, I think the relatively simple graphics are what makes this game special. An MMORPG doesn't have to look like Crysis or the latest Battlefield game. Albion and RuneScape are perfect examples of it working well.
How it feels to chew 5 gum.
That being said, I do have to mention that I think some models in this game have a rather questionable large amount of cleavage, reminding me a little bit of those Japanese MMO character creation screens with a slider, if you know what I mean.
Damn, she thick, dude.
It's just something I couldn't help but notice and had to mention in this video because it's just so obvious when you're killing the giants or the cultists in these dungeons. I'm not complaining though. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the map, zone system, and gathering resources. Now, if you're a solo player, gathering resources is probably the most chill and relaxing thing you can do, and it's just super easy. Just like in RuneScape, mining is simple, and your resources deplete. The only thing I don't like is that other players can actually steal your resources, aka mine, right in front of you. In other words, you have to compete for the resources on a map if there are a lot of other players. This is something I don't like, and this is something RuneScape 3 fixed with the mining and smithing rework, but it's still apparent in old school RuneScape. Unless you're mining in some instance area or something. This is something that especially annoyed me early on, where other players could simply grab the resource right in front of you during the tutorial, and it's just, I don't do gathering in this game for that reason. I would only play this game for combat, and thankfully, you can make your own story in Albion. Meaning you can just do combat and make money from selling the gear you get throughout the dungeons instead, or from PvP, if PvP is your thing. Now, depending on the zone, you cannot lose your items during PvP, but in red and black zones, you will always drop all of your items after PvPing. Now, I haven't done much PvP because whenever I did do PvP, I just got ganked by a group. And really the only way to do PvP properly in this game is either to find someone you can 1v1 in a corrupted dungeon, or be in a big guild and do a guild versus guild war, which I have looked up on YouTube and it looks like a lot of fun. But if you're a solo player looking to get into Albion for PvP, just stay away, it's not worth your time. However, if you're planning to join a large guild, then it probably is. But as a solo player, you can still play Albion Online, and it still can be a lot of fun, but you'll have to stick to PvE and gathering stuff. Please keep in mind that these are my first impressions as a RuneScape player trying out the game, and this isn't a 100-hour in-depth review of Albion Online. With that being said, let's get into the pros and cons of Albion Online. Okay, so Albion Online is a game similar to RuneScape. As a RuneScape player, I can see that this game is similar to RuneScape as it has similar gathering, selling, and combat aspects. That being said, this is also a big con. If Albion Online is so similar to RuneScape, what incentive might you have to play this game over RuneScape? If you haven't played either RuneScape or Albion before, I would go ahead and try Albion Online first, because more of the game is polished, especially the new player experience, and as a free-to-play player, you can do way more than you can do in RuneScape 3 or old-school RuneScape. That being said, if you've played RuneScape before, I can't think of that many reasons why you would play this game as your main MMORPG over RuneScape, apart from the large-scale PvP or the visual look and feel of Albion Online. Now, the combat in this game, depending on what weapon you're using, is simple yet very fun, although I can see this becoming stale very quickly in the long run. Now, enemies and characters in this game have thick thighs, and that's just a big plus. Now, in Albion Online, you can do whatever you want for the most part, and that means you have a lot of playstyle variety. And whatever you end up choosing is very straightforward and you won't be asking yourself too many questions. Now Albion is extremely popular at the moment and that is reassuring, especially since the game has a player-driven economy. The interface is simple and clean and most things are very easy to read, although I don't like the massive global chat, but that's something you can turn off. The map is absolutely massive and I haven't even come close to exploring a tiny bit of it, again reminding me of Runescape. I like the fact that you get a starting mount, not much more to be said there. Premium can be bought with in-game gold just like with bonds in Runescape, and this is a system more MMOs should be adding to their games. Now as for the cons, Albion Online is a game similar to RuneScape, and that is a con like mentioned earlier. The simple yet fun combat can slowly become boring. The extremely crowded towns are a good thing of course, but they are very annoying if you're trying to find an NPC, especially as a newer player. Now this game markets itself as a sandbox MMO, and it is a sandbox MMO just like RuneScape, but for this reason it also lacks direction, especially if you're a player that is very bad at making your own goals, or setting your own goals. Something else I dislike is the competitive resource gathering where other players can nick your resources, and I assume this can be very annoying in higher tier zones where PvP is enabled. People can steal your loot in green rifts, and again I would just prefer a individual loot system. I also dislike that you can't auto pick up money and there's no setting to change it to auto pick up money. I don't like clicking on the floor when killing a lot of enemies, every single time. Now this game is a fun game if you're going to play in groups, but you have to play in a large group for it to be effective. In small groups or solo play, I don't think this game is that fun end game. This game literally has daily maintenance. Yes, daily maintenance. And if you're from Australia or somewhere else around the world located far away from the servers, you can rubber band and have a lot of lag. I mention this because one of my friends who was playing was from Australia and it really didn't work out that well. Overall, I think this game is worth playing in 2020. There are a lot of things I haven't covered in this video, like high-level PvP, high-level dungeons, world bosses, the player-owned island, which, by the way, sadly is premium only. Also, speaking about premium is very overpowered in this game. It gives you 50% more XP, 50% more stuff harvested and all that stuff. But it's not exactly pay to win because you can buy it with in-game gold. And with that being said, I want to wrap this video up. I probably won't be playing this game long term. I'll try it for a little longer and see if I can get hooked. But I will most likely return to playing another MMO instead. If you are looking to try Albion Online and you want to help out my account, be sure to use my referral link in the description below because this game does have a referral system. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.